Welcome, everybody. It's episode 27 of the Matt Ryan Show.
Live from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Well, folks, like we said, welcome to episode 27 of the Matt Ryan Show. I'm Ryan Landry.
I'm Matt Gobert, and we are indeed live from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on the campus of LSU. And somebody who will remain nameless was gracious enough to supply us with a little indoor facility.
Finally, we're getting a little sponsorship here.
Yeah, exactly. In this nice, comforting suite.
Here at Alex Park Stadium.
Avoiding the rain here tonight. But it was an interesting night at the box. We played a game, but didn't play a game in a way.
You know, by all rules of college baseball, tonight's game was called as I think it was a 6-inning, rain-shortened, complete baseball game in which the University of Louisiana at Lafayette Raging Cajuns defeated our LSU Tigers 4-1 in really truthfully a 5.5-inning game. You know, it was building in the 6th inning, and the Tigers would have still had 4 chances to be at the plate to score runs. The Raging Cajuns were at bat when they called the game, and first and foremost, we still have a problem with our offense, Matt. What is your take on this lackadaisical offense that the Tigers are producing against some quality opponents?
Yeah, in quality opponents, I'm glad you said that. It seems that LSU, and this even goes back to the World Series against some quality opponents, they're not hitting the ball well. And we mentioned this on our baseball preview show just 2 weeks ago. You had to replace Rafe Rhymes, you had to replace Mason Katz, you had to replace Jacoby Jones in your lineup. That's the 3, 4, and 5 hitters of your lineup towards the end of the year. And that's not going to happen overnight. And this is one of those games, especially because it was to Louisiana Lafayette, who's not a pushover team in themselves. Before the year, I was actually talking with our buddy Nick Archilla, who will probably be gloating a little bit to us tonight and the rest of the year. But LSU and Louisiana Lafayette were two teams that had enough talent to where they may host a regional this year.
Each host a regional.
And then, who knows what happens after that. But at the same time, it's the crazy sport of college baseball, Ryan, and it's only one game. If we go back to last year, LSU dropped a game at home and lost pretty handily to a very bad BYU baseball team.
Truth.
And then went on to win 12 in a row after that.
Truth.
Before not even losing a game until, I believe it was the last game against Mississippi State, who
conference play, absolutely
made the championship series of Omaha last year. It's no sweat. Was it a disappointing performance for LSU tonight? Absolutely. Louisiana Lafayette straight out outplayed LSU.
In every facet.
In every facet. LSU couldn't field the ball well. I mean, they had 2 errors in the infield, one from Barr and one from, I believe it was Robertson at second.
Robertson at second.
And it's unorthodox. LSU is usually a very good fielding team.
Damn near perfect.
I think the only
percentage was what, 997?
It was very high. I think we only had 1 error the entire year through the first 7 games tonight. But it's just one of those nights. LSU didn't have it. They did not hit well. And
Glenn didn't throw well.
He
didn't throw consistently.
He didn't throw consistently. He gave up 2 earned runs against the Louisiana Lafayette team that actually led the nation in batting average last year in return data out of their 9 starters. So it's one of the better hitting teams that actually LSU will face this year. It's ULL's defense that they're not horrible, but
if there was a weak spot to play,
right, it would be more their weak. I mean, look, their center fielder dropped the ball, and unfortunately, we couldn't take advantage of that because it was a routine pop-up. We could have had runs on first and second, and that could have been something there. Stevenson gets that leadoff triple. We only get 1 run out of it. It's just you can't be stagnant on offense when you get opportunities like that. And LSU just got on play tonight. It's pretty much what it is. It's not the end of the world. No. Don't go jump off the cliff. You shouldn't jump off the cliff
anyway.
Regardless, anyway.
If you do, call me first.
Yeah, Ryan's a psychologist. He kind of does that.
Therapist in training. But nonetheless, my big takeaway from tonight was, 1, we put the bat on the ball, but we're not putting the ball in play. That's the big thing. Is LSU's never had a problem hitting the ball and putting it to the potential to be put in play, But with the changes in the bats, and you can say excuses. Adaptations have to be made, and Javi Sanchez has not made those adaptations. Stevenson's batting stance looks awkward, but it has been fixed. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw Stevenson hit a triple. Last season, I'd go back to the books and see. I'd put money on it. He doesn't have one. That might have been his first career triple as a Tiger.
I think he had one or two, but it's not because he doesn't have the speed to do it. It's just because he didn't get on much.
Right, he didn't get on base much. His batting stance last year was thrown off. This year, Javi's done a little bit to fix it. It may have corrected it. It still looks awkward. The one big error on LSU's part tonight was, I forgot who it was, rounding third. It was a play. It was a ball that was in play.
I believe it was Kramer Robinson.
Yes, it was Kramer Robinson. He was signaled to go home on a short. It was a hard hit ground ball.
And it was enough to where it would have been a deep infield single
if it would have gotten out of the infield.
Right, and it was with 2 outs. Instead, we're still sending a runner. By the way, even if the run doesn't score, it didn't. But say you hold the run at third and you have runners at the corners, you have Bregman coming up,
All-American,
which he didn't even have his best night.
No.
He went over 2. I mean, it was just a complete effort. LSU just did not have it tonight,
That
happens sometimes in college baseball. I mean, you'll have teams, for example, say like Florida State. Last year, I believe they lost to Bethune-Cookman in a midweek game.
This is true,
and this is not to water down a midweek game, but it's exactly what it is. It's a midweek game. If LSU and ULL played a 3-game series, I think LSU would take it in 3. I don't think there's any way ULL would beat NOLA, and I think the teams would split the other 2.
right? That's the beauty of college sports aside from football, is that you've got these teams who, on any given day, can beat any given team.
Right.
For example, we said earlier, ULL hasn't scored a touchdown on LSU in over 100 years.
Yes,
but in baseball, they're obviously pretty equally matched. ULL's no slouch. They're the number 13 team in the nation. LSU's number 1. ULL's number 13.
Good baseball team.
We lost to a good baseball team tonight in a shortened game. Had it gone 9 innings, you don't know what can happen. Everybody wants to say, this and that or whatever. You really can't truthfully say you know what's going to happen because you don't know who would have been put on the mound for LSU in the 6th. You don't know who ULL would have put on the mound in the 7th.
They were going to their bullpen.
They were.
It could have made a difference with the way LSU was playing. I would have said ULL probably still would have won. You're always going to ask what if, but at the same time,
at the end of the day,
this is game 8 of a long 56
games. Right. We got 48 more games to go.
LSU, you're not going to know their identity until SEC play starts.
So we've got at least another 18 to 20 games to play until conference play, right?
It's coming up soon. I think it's sometime in March, but then we start at Vanderbilt. I mean, that's a series. If LSU doesn't show up, they'll get swept on the road.
Absolutely.
I thought before
Vanderbilt gave us everything we could handle in the SEC tournament last season.
I thought before the season LSU was maybe an 18-12 type of SEC team this year. They're gonna have to prove it hitting. I think pitching overall will be okay. I like what I've seen through the true freshmen, I guess technically. So far, Glenn didn't throw his A game tonight, but he's still a capable starter as well. Nola is Nola.
Yeah, All-American, first-round pick.
But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with all of that for sure.
With that being said, guys, congratulations to the Raging Cajuns. Hard as it is for me to say it, I know he probably won't even say it. But Nick, you've got your W to the fans in Lafayette. We met a couple of nice guys from Lafayette.
Hey,
I sure did.
I give them that. They did let us eat our food at walk-ons.
They gave us their bar stools because they were finishing up their last rounds of beers whenever we got our food. Instead of us having to take it to go, hey man, y'all sit down and eat y'all food, which took us all of about 8 minutes.
Yeah, we were hungry. We were trying to get to the stadium.
Record time.
But also at the same time, I was talking with our buddy Nick about this on the way home. He was saying, it's one of those things where, this is only game 8. He's like, we all know these two teams are going to meet at the end of the year when it counts anyway.
And it truly could.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. It's like, what if both of those teams would host a regional? They can meet in the super regional. I told Nick, you're going to have to bring in extra security for that because it would get out of control.
And just to think, what if potentially ULL hosts that super regional? That could be that, and you never know.
Right. It's not to put down I believe they're still in the Sun Belt from what I understand.
Yes.
it's not to put that conference down, but they got to win against LSU on the road. If they take care of business against Alabama, that's going to be some quality RPI wins for them.
Back to back.
Back to back.
They got Alabama coming to Lafayette this weekend.
Yeah, 3-game series. If they take that 3-game series,
imagine if they sweep Alabama.
Oh, we would never hear the end of it. They'd be, we went 4-0 against the SEC. Woo, woo, woo.
No, you went 3-0 and one rain-shortened game. But by the books, technicality is a technicality. A W is still a W. Congratulations.
Right.
In other news, the combine is starting up, and it's starting to look pretty interesting. I'll jump right off the bat.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jadeveon Clowney is a monster. What was his official 40?
I think it was 4.57.
4.57, yeah.
It was under 4.6.
4.57 at 6'5", 260. This guy is lightning fast. I think, and this is what we talked about earlier, I think the one thing that's going to hurt Clowney's draft stock is his character, his work ethic. You know, you've got people around the SEC that say Clowney's soft. You've got people around the nation saying Jimmy Graham is soft, and I'd put him in the same boat. They played to the competition. But at the same time, you put the right offensive lineman on Clowney, I don't think he's all that great. He played 60% of his talent this year knowing that he didn't want to get hurt to get drafted this season. I wouldn't want him on my team. I don't want Clowney in New Orleans.
He doesn't have the best. Well, one, he won't fall at 27.
No, he definitely won't.
His attitude definitely needs to get better. I do think he's a good player. But like you also mentioned, he did go against the SEC. That's some of the best competition. But you know what? The third string offensive tackle in every NFL team was an All-American somewhere.
Somewhere. That's like when they were saying the unstoppable Alabama Crimson Tide could play the Jacksonville Jaguars and win, and Vegas put a 28-point spread in Jacksonville's favor.
Oh yeah, I would have took Jacksonville by at least 3 touchdowns. I think.
At least.
Every year I would take the worst NFL team against the best college team and get the NFL 3 touchdowns.
So it goes without saying that he's going to be stepping into a new league, and if he doesn't change that attitude, he's going to be humbled really quick. Right. I was looking today at a couple of defensive backs. One guy out of Nebraska, really embarrassed, really embarrassed. Quite the opposite. It interested me. He had the measurables of Richard Sherman. Okay. He didn't have the fastest 40, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. It's a French last name. It's like one of those hyphenated French last names, like Jean-Pierre Paul.
We'll have to look that up.
But different. But I remember he was out of Nebraska, and he was about 6'2", 205. Okay, so and he ran about a 4.68 40, but his vertical leap was like 42 inches.
That's pretty.
You know, this guy was a hoss. And I think this might be one person that could possibly fall late enough to where the Saints might want to look at this guy. There's a couple of defensive backs that were faster and kind of, I guess you could say, ranked higher than this guy. Mm-hmm. But with the measurables that he has, like Richard Sherman, they said this guy's smart like Richard Sherman. And now the NFL's, everybody's trying to look at how does Seattle make their defense so good. This would be a guy I think that could fill into a spot. Now that we have to replace Roman Harper, now that we have to replace Jabari Greer, we need somebody on that outside to help Vaccaro and to help Malcolm Jenkins to where they can play with their position and play ball hawk. If we can get a shutdown corner in New Orleans, that defense we saw this year is only going to get better.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the Saints go. I think at 27, it's going to be simply best player available. We do need cornerback help. We need tons of offensive line help. The Saints need some wide receiver help too, and it's going to be one of those situations. I think at least that the Saints are going to go best player available. Another guy, let's go opposite side of the ball. Somebody who personally said this weekend he wants to play for the Saints, and that's Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, what I would do to get OBJ in New Orleans.
I'd take him or Jarvis Landry.
Either one.
Can we get them both?
Both great character guys. OB Senior was an LSU star.
Right.
OBJ's mom was an LSU track star. They're both right here, born and raised in Louisiana, and this guy's a Saints fan already. how much heart would he play with every week in and week out?
Absolutely.
With a black and gold jersey on.
And same with Jarvis Landry. Look like he's got stickum on his hands because he just does not drop any passes.
No.
I mean, that guy's just a vacuum cleaner, just sucks it right in there.
That's what they were saying about OBJ too. Is he's not the biggest wide receiver.
Right.
His unofficial was a 4.37 in the 40.
Which ended up being official like a 4.46.
Was it 4.6?
They're still under 4.5, which is fast as hell.
Yeah. And he fights at what's the term that they used?
Ball hawk or
No, he fights at ball, like contact of the ball or something. I don't remember exactly.
You gotta shy away from contact, I guess, or
it was he beats the defender to the ball, regardless of how tall he is. He's what 5'10", 5'10 and a half. He's right under 6 foot. He's not the biggest wide receiver.
I think he's listed at 5'11".
But when you put the ball near OBJ, he's gonna beat you to it. You know, you put the ball in open space and OBJ will get there.
And the other thing about OBJ is he adds that return game versatility as well. He can serve dual roles. Look at, for example, I know we're using the LSU homerism here, but Patrick Peterson's done it for the Cardinals, and now Honey Badger's doing it for the Cardinals as well. They both are on kickoffs. I forgot if Peterson did punts again like he did the year before, or if he just did kickoffs. But
I think he did not full time, but I know he did.
Or like maybe certain situations where they're trying to see if somebody can break one. But I know you had Honey Badger and Peterson back there on kickoffs, and that's a 1-2 punch.
That's a mean 1-2
And then they
punch.
play just about full time on defense at cornerback as well, or Honey Badger's almost that rover hybrid with
that nickelback safety cornerback all mixed into one position, right?
But it's going to be interesting to see for sure where the Saints go, and you'll have LSU's Pro Day coming up on April 9th. I remember reading that today. 9th. That's right around when they have the spring game as well, which is, I think, I want to say that week in April. That's usually around, it's usually early to mid-April as well. So we'll have a lot of LSU football to talk about then, springtime.
Even early in spring, right?
Even early in the spring. I mean,
always got LSU football.
Always got to talk about football for sure. And then you'll have the NFL draft coming up soon. Then next thing you know, we'll be talking about some Saints mini camps and all that stuff. So don't worry, you're not gonna be football deprived that long.
Oh no. When it comes to us two, there is no deprivation of football. We find ways.
Oh yeah,
we find ways.
We find ways to keep the show entertaining. In fact, we're already on 27 here. In fact, number 30 is going to be our big March Madness one.
It's coming.
We're picking the entire bracket. You're not going to
the whole thing.
The entire game.
But the catch-22 is, if you pick our bracket and you get Buffett money, we're coming for you.
Oh yeah,
we're coming. Because we had the documentation on video that we did it first.
This will be a full-time gig. I'll walk into work and say later.
Later. I'll be able to pay off. I won't have to be a therapist. I still probably would.
Yeah. I'd pay off all my debt and then do whatever I want.
Do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Speaking of football, one guy I want to see this coming season, this is another guy we were talking about earlier, is Trey Mason. Trey Mason breaks Bo Jackson's record in the 40 in the combine. I like what you said about what Auburn does to their running backs, especially under the Malzahn method. He's got a lot of miles on the tires, as Matt had said earlier. But I think this guy can come into any offense needing a running back, a primary running back, like an Adrian Peterson type, Jamal Charles type offense, where the offense runs off of what the running back does, and get 6-7 years of high quality football out of this guy. This guy could help a decent offense become a lights out offense, because this guy's no slouch. He is no slouch. He's quick off the ball. Who's another guy I wanted to mention? I got to give props to your boy from Thibodeau High, from Auburn, who's definitely, I think he did pretty well in the combine as well.
Cam Robinson?
That's it. I knew it was a Robinson. I couldn't think of his first name. His combine performances weren't too bad either. So it's going to be interesting this year. Sure will. Speaking of another couple of things we want to talk about.
Sure.
Pierre Thomas and Jimmy Graham.
That's going to be interesting.
It's just preliminary talk now.
Talk now. June 1st is always that huge date when it comes to teams making more cuts and such. The Saints, and it also was said, I think the salary cap's going to go up to $132 million this year, which right now, as of today, I think the Saints are right at $7 million under with that.
With the new raise.
The new rate, yeah.
But it raised up with about $14 million, wasn't it?
Wasn't that much? I don't
What was the
remember.
old one?
I thought it might have been like in the upper 120s, but we'll have to look that one up too.
I feel like they raised it by a certain percentage.
Yeah, I thought it was only supposed to gradually increase too, but then I could be wrong.
Yeah, inflation. Inflation.
Because I know it was part of the new CBA where, yeah, we'd go up, but it wouldn't be much because they don't want teams to, oh, don't worry, it's going to go up $10 million next year. We'll just, save money for so-and-so's contract
Right.
and all that other stuff.
Well, we already pretty much know what's going to happen with Jimmy Graham. He's going to get the franchise tag.
Yeah.
What position he gets tagged at is a matter of $3 to $5 million.
I think you'll see it go to an arbitrator just like it does with Major League Baseball contracts.
Do you think the arbitrator is going to say he belongs as a wide receiver?
I
Even though
think
he's listed as a tight end?
I think it'll end up being a middle ground. They're basically.
So
It's like negotiating.
You get what, 6 as a tight end?
It's just say it's 6 as a tight end, 10 as a wide receiver.
Go up to 8.
Yeah.
But
it's like negotiating on a house. The seller's going to start high and the buyer's going to start low, and you
need the
like
middle.
Get to the middle ground.
It's like going on a pawn shop. It's like watching Pawn Stars.
They're just wasting time anyway. They're going to end up basically meeting at that number anyway. It just depends on what the Saints going to do as a franchise tag, or are they going to try to work out a long-term deal?
Personally,
I don't know.
my take on Jimmy Graham.
Or here's take 3, and I think this might be where you're leaning. He's one hell of a trade asset.
For one very high pick in said receiver from Baton Rouge. Just saying.
But with that said, we talked about some baseball, we talked about some combine. That's all the time we got this week for episode 27. We'll be back with episode 28 next week. Ryan, did you have anything else before we call it a night?
Not really. We even got a little Saints talk, a little LSU football talk in there too. So with that being said, Matt, like you said, episode 27 is a wrap.
Episode 27 is a wrap. Live from Baton Rouge.
Live from BR. 2 1/4.
Hey, you never know. Maybe we'll go on the road again.
To your house.
We could go to your house.
Just cook.
Yeah, that's all.
What's that?
Well, that's it from Louisiana State University. Until next time.
Good night, America.
Good night, America.